joining us. No problem getting on this Zoom. There's no problem logging on in anything.
No,
this time.
there was no problem logging on the other day either, except that the time was wrong.
No, today because some of us had a problem logging on, so I was wondering if you had. I'll ask
Absolutely no.
Thank you.
No.
Thanks. So, Tapasya, you want to just run through? You'll play the slides, or we want to not do this now?
Sorry?
Should we just?
We are about to start.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 minute and then we'll start. It's 1 minute away. Yeah.
Okay. There's a minute. I'll take half a second to just introduce the faculty to Mrs. Sarji, who we didn't that the other day have a chance to introduce you to. So Tapasya is associate professor looking after the event today. Dr. Himani is heading the fashion textile program. Who else is here? Harminder. Anjali is also faculty with interior design. I can't see anyone else now. Marina is here as host. Sarah is here, who's put the program together. So this is all right now currently faculty help put the show together along with the students.
All women, are you?
No, sir.
Almost.
Anna, put your hands up, Harminder. I think we
are
are
50-50.
As with
50-50.
Are we 50-50 faculty?
Almost.
70-30. Students, we are almost 70-30. Women. So all the faculty is here. Some of them are here as attendees, but the people who are here as panelists are the ones who have helped to put this part of the project together.
Voices are breaking up a lot, except that my voice is clear.
Ma'am, your voice is clear.
Okay, fine.
I hope the rest will be okay for. It's a new platform for us also, this WebEx that the university has decided to use.
Should we start?
Yes.
I think we are right on the dot, on the clock. So good morning. Warm welcome to everyone who is here, who has decided to join us on our, we would like to say, first day in the virtual world with our work. So as I have previously heard, I must repeat a couple of words. We must participate in the creative world we want to become a part of. And at SSD, we also feel that we have talent, so what? Unless we have the right platform, it won't lead us to any recognition. So with that thought in mind, we decided to take opportunity and chaos around us and convert it into this, which is our virtual exhibition of all the works that our students have completed, accomplished, work in progress for the entire last year. And I welcome you warmly to this launch event where we have a very special guest with us. Before we introduce the guest, I would like to introduce the power behind all of this, which is our dean, Professor Jayanti Nadesalingam, and I would welcome her to this so-called virtual stage to take over welcoming the guest. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Tapasya. So welcome and thank you for joining us at Sushant School of Design. Thank you, students, families, friends of the school. We do not, in this strange virtual world, are not always able to see who is here, but I believe Board of Trustees, the Advisory Board, some of our past chief guests, and now our chief guest for today, Ms. Lailata FG. So just a few words. This was, of course, not the academic year we had planned for when we started in August 2019, and yet here we are, wrapping up the semester as scheduled. Exams, juries, reviews, all complete. Our best work selected for award and display. And for this agility, I thank you all, my students and my faculty. In this time of crisis and uncertainty, you've persevered, you've accomplished what you've been working on when the pandemic hit. The lockdowns forced us to revise our syllabus, to quickly adapt to working with materials we found in our homes, and to develop the tenacity to sit through hours of reviews, which took the place of our studios. Over the past few months, we've distanced ourselves for our mutual well-being. I've watched with immense gratitude and admiration as our students, faculty, and staff have come together to support each other and ensure that teaching and learning happened in the best possible way. By the end of the semester, it became apparent that we would not be able to celebrate and honor our students' final work in our usual exhibition format, which is our much loved and what we always look forward to, Abhikalp at Sushant. And so we began to look for alternatives. And today, I'm honored to share with you the digital showcase of our students' work, their stories, their resilience. You'll be able to explore these reimagined virtual presentations on the Ansal University website. That comes later in part 2 of our program. So on behalf of all the SLC community, thank you to all who supported these amazing students, especially to students themselves. I hope you'll be wowed by their creativity, thrilled by their craft, captivated by their ideas. And now I would welcome our special guest, Ms. Laila Taibji. I'm honored to welcome her. Of course, it's awful to say that she needs no introduction. Of course, I would love to introduce her. I would think now most of us connect Ms. Laila Taibji's name immediately with Dastakar. She began Dastakar, of course, 30 years ago with the knowledge that Indian craftspeople still had extraordinary skills and potential. They were not able to deal with the huge changes in their potential markets and patrons. Their products were becoming irrelevant and they themselves were getting increasingly marginalized, and craftspeople desperately needed market information, design assistance, linkages to appropriate raw material and finance, professionalization of their production and delivery mechanisms, and of course, access to new emerging urban markets. I personally have followed her work through the late 70s and 80s when I was working as a young architect with organizations which aligned with her, like Fab India or Anoki, maybe, where her name would be mentioned with great awe. And I've admired, no, I would say I've respected for her unwavering dedication to the craftsperson and contextualizing Indian craft. The school is committed to the vision that designers and craftspersons' collaborations can drive industry and regenerate livelihoods, especially at times like this. There was no better person I could think of to address our young designers today. Laila is an industry icon herself who has taken on a challenging and enriching task of social design. Today, our design students, along with us, face great uncertainty. As she herself has said, there are no markets, there's no money, there's no sense of direction. I heard her at a talk recently. But this is an opportunity, I think, to rethink a kinder world, a more inclusive one. And as a design school, we have much we can do to align with the goals of traditional craftspersons, materials, processes. I welcome Ms. Laila Taibji to address our students. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Your voice was breaking up, so I hope that this is clear. Maybe people should mute their thing because there seems to be a reverberation. I'm very, very happy to be here, even though you've mucked up my Sunday morning. And it's very nice to spend time with young people at a time when one is increasingly isolated and unable to have that interface with people, which is such an important part of my life. I spend my life, as you can see from these photographs, with craftspeople all over India, and I've done that actually for the last 45 years. A small correction is that Daskar itself is now almost 40 years old, going to have its 40th birthday next year. It's a very, very strange time for all of us, and must be particularly so for young people who are part of their educational process, preparing for a future and having this educational process, which is a part of their plan for their lives and a preparation for their lives, sort of dominated and interrupted in such a way that is very, very confusing, because we really don't know what the outcome is going to be, or even what the time frame is going to be. So it's a challenging time, we all have to look at it somehow in a positive way, because there's no point sitting and wailing and saying, oh my God, what is going to happen and what about my class, etc. We have to look at it perhaps as something that in this world of hustle and bustle and ambition and careers and, you know, peer group pressures, all of that, we have been given something which is a pause. And a pause should be used not just as a way to sit and wait for that pause button to be pressed into release, but as a way to use that moment to introspect, to strategize and plan. And it's not a bad thing. It can be looked at as an advantage. Certainly in Dastkar, we have found it a useful time to think of things that we could be doing, should be doing, ought to have done, and see how we can do them better. The big question mark, of course, is that we really don't know how long period this pause is going to be, how long it is before we get back to life as usual, and what is that life as usual going to look like. Although the lockdown has been lifted theoretically, we all know that things are not back to normal. And there is a kind of feeling that it never is going to be back to that old normal. I think that, you know, the world economy has taken a huge hit. I believe it's something like, more than 5 or 6% sort of downturn. The markets, not just in India, but all over the world, are closed. And it means that a lot of the clients and customers for whom we all work have also had to relook at their lives and their sort of work. Orders have been cancelled. Many huge international firms have sort of looked at their merchandise and said, you know, we have to do something different. I mean, at the moment, Prada making gloves, masks, and body bags. Designers, international designers, are wondering whether those days of ramp shows and sort of glitzy high fashion are something that are going to be relevant, at least in the immediate future. So we have to look at all that and not get depressed, but see it, as I said, as a kind of challenge. Actually, for India, I think it is an opportunity, not at this very moment when we ourselves, our economy is under great strain, when craftspeople are not able their crafts. Is it what decision do you take? Do you just from the thing and income back into your family? Ours is than exhibitions over brand labels already is partying where could travel all over to sell the products. Days when architects are going to get these are all huge question marks, and we take a very they're both searching as well as an optimistic spirit. Every negative we turn positive. If the market and whole America then we are both as well as the economies. Now it's time for India to step up. Maybe it's a time to start. There was a time in the 16th century when India was a maker to the world. we dressed everybody, Indian tech, silver, Indian enamel. People came to get out of India. Jane Stilton, not going to Benetton, and they're not going from the high street brands to the high fashion brands. They're either not available in India, or the stores which retail them are closed. And maybe that's also given time for people to realize that they're not that necessary to our lives as much as we thought. And again, this is an opportunity where we can infiltrate Indian brands, make Indian crafts and Indian products, brand names, both in India and abroad. We ourselves in Daskar have been so thrilled actually by the kind of response, support people all over. And I go online, I really home how comfortable handloom cotton is and things like that. And so, as I said, everyone has had a time to think, everyone has had a time to re-evaluate what they find is essential in their lives and what is central to their lives. And perhaps we're going to have a slightly new world. These reading, as everybody has been so much about the fact that the minute the traffic on the road stopped and the minute the pollution went down, people that so much greenery, flowers, that birds that had not been seen in Delhi gardens for decades suddenly began chirping. And, we have parrots and peacocks and sparrows which had completely disappeared. We have orioles and woodpeckers, and we have all these sounds. And people realize how much it means to them and how maybe we should slow down the pace of life. Not in a compulsory lockdown by the government, which is, I think, something nobody enjoys, but as a conscious decision of our own. We are able to actually now start planning what will be different, what will be and environmentally thing and carbon footprint. These are all phrases that we've all bandied around for the last few years, but suddenly they've taken on a new meaning, and we realize that it is possible. It is not some huge sacrifice. It is something that is actually quite possible. So we can, even if the pause button of lockdown has been lifted, we can actually do our slow sort of down on a lot of habits, consumerist traits that we have realized are not so essential. Now, where does that take you? Because obviously all of you are thinking of how you're going to shape your lives, use a professional expertise that you've been learning at Sushant, and how you're going to make a career out of that. Well, I have some very good news for you, because in India, we have something which is actually a gold mine. We have the fact that we have literally millions and millions of skilled professional hands who have knowledge system, skill sets that no other country in the world has. And these are craft people. There's no country in the world that has quite so many different craftspeople and quite so many different materials and techniques and traditions from which these craftspeople come and which is still there in their hands and in their heads and in their sort of community memories. And we need to tap these because this is actually the route to capturing the world market. It's quite surprising how little many, particularly urban young, realize that and that we have this wealth. Because unfortunately, craftspeople in India are still invisible and anonymous. They live in remote parts of India. They've been practicing quietly there. They don't have a sort of a powerful voice in either government or in public life. And we take them very much for granted, just the way that all of you, I'm sure, pass by the Qutub quite regularly on your way to work, on your way to study. But it very seldom occurs to you to stop and have a look at this extraordinary bit of architecture, a miracle actually of construction. Maybe some foreign guest, some tourist arrives in India to stay with you, and you have to take another side. And then maybe the Qutub falls into that. But let's not take craftspeople for granted. Craftspeople are actually India's route to world dominance. We talk, in the 21st century, India has made the most extraordinary strides in everything from aviation to sort of internet technology. But in many other areas, we're still trying to catch up with the rest of the world in a whole lot of things. But this is something where we are supreme. And other countries actually envy us. I don't know how many of you know that China regularly sends people to India to pick up craftspeople, everything from Kolhapuri chappals to lakh bangles to chicken work embroidery and Banarsi saris, to train Chinese craftspeople to make these things. And sadly, in many international markets, when you go abroad, you see a lot of things which look as if they were from India, but when you go a little closer, you discover that they have a made in China label. Things like bandhani, things like mirror work embroidery. And it's really sad that we shouldn't be there in that marketplace just because, once again, we sort of feel that, yeah, these things are always there, or they're a bit sort of primitive, or they're a little boring, they've always been around, and, they belong to our grandmother's generation. But, it's the skills we're talking about. We're not saying that a young designer today who's working in mirror work in Kutch has to create a backless choli and a lehenga and, look as if she's something out of some old Bollywood movie of the 1950s. Or like a village belle. She can be wearing something very contemporary, very sort of trendy, but using that embroidery, that hand skill to embellish it in a way that nobody else can do anywhere else in the world. All over the centuries, people have come to India to use these hand skills of ours, whether it's sort of jamewar weaving, which in the court of the French court and the Regency courts of England and France was something which was a height of fashion, whether it is the embroidery, which so many designer gowns in Milan and Paris use. They take images and styles out of, they take motifs, and they have translated them into wonderful contemporary high fashion. Again, no reason why we can't do the same. Just looking at perhaps some of these images which are flashing on your screen will show you the gamut of different skills, of course, but also motives and designs that we have. I mean, this is just a handful of things, but I can tell you that India, every corner of India is absolutely full of them, and of craftspeople who are still alive, some of them very young, able to translate the ideas that you have in your head into something that is quite unique and amazing. Which takes me to the second part of this great opportunity. One is that I said crafts, they've centuries, they still are there, need work, they still give. But what they need is a partnership which will help them into their skills and their motive directories and design sensibilities into something for because they themselves are not part of it. They don't live in cities, they don't interact, their own lifestyles have not changed so much. So they need help in order to interpret their skill and their directory of designs and techniques into something which would work for the urban. And that's where I think like you come in, because you have that know-how, you are your own customers, you live in an urban world, you've had the professional training in design, in quality, in sort of proportion, you to them and make this into something different. And that is where I think you have a wonderful opportunity. And that's also something where my organization will be very, very happy to help in acting as an interface between you and craftspeople. You have to see, do you work in wood, do you want to work in textile, do you want to work in stone and marble, do you want to work with fiber or bamboo, and there are craftspeople, communities of craftspeople who are there to work with you. However, a word of caution, it has to be a partnership. It has to be something where both sides are contributing their strengths and working to combat each other's weaknesses. A craftsperson is not a computer that you go and you press a few sort of computer keys and you punch in your design and out will come something which you had in your head. Craftspeople have their own ideas, they have their own looking at things. Their techniques are something that you first need to master yourself before you really understand whether what you want to do is possible or not. And you have to be prepared, as I said, to be a partnership. You have to work together rather than just absolutely extraordinary. Baska's been in crafts for 40 years. I've been working in crafts for 45 years. And I have seen the most amazing success stories and ways in which you have developed, the designer has developed an extraordinary range of products, and the craftsperson and he have become very together. But also, you have enriched the cultural stream of that craft, and you have also enriched a whole community. The places where I went to maybe a decade ago, which were in abject poverty, really from drought and in some cases earthquakes and cyclones, and who through the power of their craft they're getting orders from all over the world. And that is something that is not an extraordinary story. It's been matched over and over again. Daska works with something like 850 or 900 different craft groups, communities, or clusters of the government to call all over India, everything from terracotta to precious metals. everything, every kind of textile, silk, linen, cotton, wool, whatever. And I don't think we have maybe one or two of these have not made it successfully. All the others are sustainable, all the others are successfully successful entrepreneurs selling their own products without either investment or subsidy. So what do you need to do? I mean, you need to decide that what do you want to work with? Because you can turn craft is just a means of production. You can make anything out of it. You might find a highly skilled terracotta potter, but you may decide to use him for wall finishes. Because I think architectural crafts is actually a whole area which has been very, very neglected. You can, on the other hand, decide that no, you want to go quite small, and instead of just making gamlas, you sort of button out. And look at paper, which is one of the most crafts they can possibly, and I'm sure you've seen little boxes and the Christmas decorations and napkin rings. But there was a time when paper mache actually was used to make furniture and to do wonderful wall murals. We could go back to that again. So there's so much that can be done. And there's so many different crafts all over the country just begging for somebody to come and work with them and give them a new leash of life. And I think that that is not just India's route to a new future, but it is your own route to a new future. And that as young designers and creative people, that is where you should look for inspiration, for partnership, and for successfully creating new careers of your own. I was told that I should speak for half an hour, but actually I would be much more interested in answering questions from you, because I feel that that makes the connect between me and this invisible audience that is there. And, I think it's quite strange actually talking into my computer, and I would much rather hear from you, and I would love to answer questions which you feel are relevant to you and your searching process at this point, which I'm sure must be very much a part of what all of you are wondering and speculating about your directions. And I would love to answer any questions you have.
Vasya, I will leave it to you.
Thank you.
I thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think I had a couple of takeaways which I feel we've also been talking about.
And I mean, if faculty,
we can put on our cameras, I think.
Yes.
So we don't all feel so isolated.
Yeah. So I was going to say that slowing down the pace of life is what you said is the natural, instinct pointing us towards like this is going to be the future, which probably many of us have had the time to feel, and probably we all agree that this was long overdue. And also, I think where the students might have questions which now we should address are their roles, because I think you mentioned that as professionals and after their training, they have all this virtue. I mean, by virtue of being Indians, they have access to all this wealth of craftspeople and their skills. But at this stage, probably they would like to know a few things. So there are many questions here, but I'm going to just take a few as time permits. So the first question is from Apurva Gupta. She's one of our master students. She says, how can fresh designers like us living in urban centers approach and collaborate with craftspersons and artisans? What is the best way, according to your experience here?
Well, as I said, I think that first you need to understand yourself. What do you want to do as a young designer? Do you want to do interiors? Do you want to do fashion? Are you going into architectural design? Are you going into graphics, stage set? These are all things that I'm very lucky in my youth, such a specialized area. I in my 20s before I settled down in the craft sector. But of you, I do in the course of your studies.
Hello?
Their patchwork and that. I mean, there's batik. So I would say that decide what do you want to do as a creative person. Then come to organizations like Daskar or something and say, this is what I want to do. I think before plunging in as an entrepreneur and starting working with craftspeople and giving them orders, I think it's a good apprenticeship for you to work in an organization. It could be a social organization like Daskar, could be in a design house which is already working, or an architectural firm which is already working with crafts. But this is something that I think you should first of all decide and have some clarity about what direction exactly you want to go. I think a little bit could also be, considering the diversity of India and the sort of mix of craftspeople and languages and regions, if, for instance, you came from Orissa, I would say that quite a good thing to work in Orissa, because you would know the language, be familiar with the culture of the area. Entry point into a craft community would be that much easier. On the other hand, if you are from Orissa, but you still have a great sort of feeling for the copper work of Kashmir, I'm not stopping you at all. There are many copper craftspeople in Kashmir, and they'd be delighted to work with you, and Daskar would be delighted to point you in that direction.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think there are many opportunities here for the students to, when you open the door for them to come and collaborate. So another question, which is very interestingly from one of our more junior students, is how can design colleges learn from colleges of craft communities of intricate work? And I think she's talking at the level of the skill learning exchange. This is Muskan Jawar. Would you like to address this?
Yeah. Well, I'm being very frank with you, and obviously since I'm behind my computer at home, you can't come and fight with me. But we do have quite a lot of problems with the system in which design schools all over India today work with crafts. Because I think it's every design school, whether it's NID or NIFT, or whether it's the private ones like Pearl and Shrishti, I don't know what Sushant's policy is, have some part of their curriculum which is working with crafts. It's either craft documentation, or there's a craft diploma period where they go and work with the crafts community for a few weeks. And actually, craft itself is a slow process, and entering and feeling comfortable and craftspeople feeling comfortable with you is also a slow process and should be done sensitively. So if a whole lot of students suddenly land up in a craft village and start taking photographs and start asking questions and noting them down because they have to produce this document at the end of it, and it can be quite disruptive, and it doesn't necessarily also teach that student that much about the craft. For them to learn the technique and technology of craft, 3D crafts, like metal casting or whatever, requires time. So I personally feel, it need not be compulsory. It should be something which is an option. If it is leaning towards work, they could opt at some stage And then the duration should be longer. It should not be someone lives there for 6 months at a time, but it should be that every month or so they spend a week in the community. And it should be integrated into both the lifestyles of the crafts community in the village and with their own work. And a lot of it can be actually classroom exercises where things like costing and sizing and market surveys and all that can be done, because unless you do that bit well, then however extraordinary the design development and sampling that you might produce, it may not actually fit into the market, it may not be the right price, it may not hit the right customer, and you can't expect a young student to understand that in depth in a very short period of time.
Okay. I think a more senior question here. There is a lack of government will in regard to this. I'm guessing the gentleman means upliftment of craft and the craftsperson's cause. What to do for the betterment? This is a question from Mr. Rajesh Agarwal.
Well, personally, obviously, this is something which I feel quite strongly about and which Daskar has been lobbying for a long time, is that let's not put the craft sector or craft people themselves into a separate box and say that, oh, they have to be treated like this, and they are, because what happens is that then they're neither fish nor fowl. I mean, to take an instance, now, in all the government stimulus packages and the relief packages after COVID-19 has struck this economic blow, craftspeople don't fit anywhere. They've fallen out of the safety net of the kind of the below poverty or the scheme. So they don't skilled craftspeople. On the other hand, they don't have insurance, they don't have provident funds because they're not companies or sort of that kind. So I feel that what craftspeople need today and the whole craft sector needs today is to be treated like every other sector of skilled professionals, because they are skilled professionals. Let's not forget that. They're not some kind of primitive leftover from our past. They're very much skilled professionals who could contribute to our economy as well as our aesthetic and culture, of which they are an integral part. So I think that if craftspeople, a crafts community, whether it's a family of craftspeople or it's a cooperative or whatever, could have access to the same kind of schemes and money that is available for, say, somebody who wants to set up a software company or to start a sort of retail business, export business, I think that would solve most of the problems. The other one is, of course, of creating this public cloud virtual and power and with an extraordinary, with more exposed. I think institution, particularly of course design schools and IITs and IIMs, should be exposed to the craft sector, and not just as, oh, pretty things or something which looks picturesque for tourism or whatever, but as I said, as a sector of millions and millions of skilled professionals.
Okay, thank you. There's one more question from Sagar Pandita. He's from the product design department, and I think his question should be seen in that light. He says, can you please shed light on how design students can help craftsmen in their own position? So he probably means what kind of projects or what kind of things they can do together to benefit mutually from each other. Like you've been saying that visiting them is not the only way to kind of take this forward.
Well, I think you need to, as I said, become part of that community and see what their needs are and what their potential is. Don't come with a preconceived idea, which is something that you've seen in a magazine, that I want to do black and white sort of embroidered cushion covers and so let me go. And then you land up in somewhere like Kutch or Karnataka, where there are these vivid, flaming uh, embroideries with their own dictionary of motives and styles. So immerse yourself in it and see how you can convert that into something which is contemporary and which has both the USP of the craftsperson as well as your own. I think these ready-made solutions, you go there with your, your concepts and your storyboard all ready, and then see that it doesn't really make a fit with the group that you're actually working with or the skill that you're working with. I've had things where young students have arrived and said, we are going to Kashmir tomorrow. We are supposed to paper mache. Some quite exciting and unusual shape. And when one explains to them, and you ask them, how long are you going for? And they say, oh, I'm going to be there for 5 days. And you say that, but in order to change the shape from the conventional box that is there, or the little round pill box and things, you have to make a mold. You have to create a mold, which will then have to be you get the papier-mâché mix, and you do that whole process just of making a mold, a new mold, will take some. They're absolutely aghast. And so when they actually go there, what happens? They take those standard shapes which are lying around already, and they paint maybe a new design on the top. But design, as we all know, is not just surface ornamentation. It is sort of looking at function. It is looking at form. It's looking at fulfilling some need. It's all about innovation. So these are the kind of very short-term things that happen when projects are thought through. People don't understand what's at the other end of this exercise. When you say that what do craftspeople need? Yes, most craftspeople do need an injection of new design and new product development, actually, more than design. But sometimes they might need something else. And I'll just tell you a story of an intervention. We had some years ago a group of students from the Design Academy, Eindhoven, from the Netherlands. And they were coming to Kutch. It was actually quite a thought-through program where they were there for 6 weeks, each of them attached to different craftspeople. And they all got to work, and they did some very interesting work, except for one tall Dutch boy who just seemed to be going every day to the village and staying there and often spending the night and things. But we never saw any result of what he was doing. And whenever we asked him that, could you show what your range is going to be like? And he said, I hate this word, design range, and I don't like this. And we were all quite concerned at what is going to happen. And he was obviously having a great time. He was learning a lot about people in India. But was it going to result in concrete? The last day when he and the craftsperson, the lacquer wood craftsperson that was working, produced this amazing big box, which when you opened it out, was like a stand, because he said, I found out from Haji Bhai that he sells always at exhibitions and bazaars. And when he goes there, he needs to show what he does. And he doesn't like just putting everything onto a takat with a white cloth on top of it. His products don't look very nice. So he has produced a traveling box in which Haji Bhai could not only store all his stock, then stay beautifully, because he opened out little shelves. He put his open kind of tray set on. And it's a wonderful and practical understanding of what the craftsperson's need was. Haji Bhai didn't really need new product development, because he made very nice sort of spoons and forks and platters, but now he had a wonderful exhibit. So understanding need and how you can actually.
So I think now we've been having some generic questions, but now students are posting even their streams to let you know what's the intent of their question. Another question from a fashion and textile student, Khyati. She wants to know if, in your opinion, has technology benefited craftsmen, and if yes, then how?
I think the supreme example of how technology has actually revolutionized the life of craftspeople is a smartphone, because it has made them directly in contact with their consumers, with the people who order, with the buyers. They could be a buyer in New York or in Australia. It could be communicating with Dastkar itself. It could be communicating with anyone. It could be accessing things like Google and Pinterest to see new ideas. All those things which were otherwise filtered to them through middlemen, through traders, through designers also sometimes. Now they can actually do this themselves and absorb it. And it has actually changed things hugely. And I think we've all realized it even during this lockdown, because otherwise something so frustrating, I remember when Daskar first, if you wanted to communicate with somebody in Bihar or in Benares, or you would send a telegram. It could sometimes take a week or 10 days to reach. Then they had to the nearest town to get back to one. Phones very seldom. But now, you just press a few buttons and there you are. And I do so much of my own design and product development through WhatsApp. It's absolutely revolutionary. So I think that it's great, and I think it is one thing that has cut through all the caste and class barriers. Everybody is equal once they have a phone in their hands. And even craftspeople, and particularly craftswomen with whom I work a lot, even the ones who are not literate or new literate, they can all understand a photograph. They can all understand a thumbs up if they send you an image and reply. So it's absolutely wonderful. I think the area which is still missing is the intervention of technology into the craft process, because there are lots of bits of craft which are really not at all either ergonomic or healthy. Working for Dhokra craft, Tamil craftspeople, inhaling all that coal and smoke into their lungs, or the postures in which a lot of craftspeople sit on the floor and hammer. I mean, there's coppersmith or something. There's no reason. I mean, a craftsperson doesn't become a craftsperson because they're working in difficult, primitive ways. Craft itself is the process of where a creative mind and creative hands works to produce a product in which creativity and individuality is a very important component. Process which can have a machine. So if that is able to be quicker, more comfortable, more productive through the use of little bits of technology, by which I do not mean replacing the craftsperson by a machine, but giving the craftsperson some sort of tools and equipment which would help the process become better. I think that would be wonderful. And it is a way of ensuring that the next generation of craftspeople will continue in the craft, because most of them don't want to spend that kind of time. They don't see it otherwise.
There is a question which is probably related to this.
Yeah.
It's from Alicia Seni. She's asked, how can culture of factory made be reconciled with custom made, which is the heart of the craft? And do market forces dilute the idea of custom made? And the last part of the question is mass produced craft really diluting the authenticity of craft and spirit, like the craft spirit? So
I absolutely agree with you. I think that because we have millions of craftspeople, there is a kind of assumption, both from Indian traders and wholesalers as well as international buyers, that India is a lovely place to get things made cheaply and in large numbers, handling cheaply and in large numbers. But actually, that's not using the craft skill very well, because a lot of little, yeah, and we should free craft people to make value out of products, obviously, on well. I mean, if to me the one of the unique attributes of craft is that each piece can be different without spending more. Unless in a where if you want to see the color of the cloth or the motive on the cloth, you have to make at least 1,000 meters in order for it to be cost effective. But in craft, you can actually make each cushion cover from a different color. You can do a different motive on it. You should therefore be able to sell it at a price which is quite high, because it is a unique art piece in itself. But our idea and the kind of pressure we put on craftspeople is usually to make 500 pieces absolutely identical, and if there's a minor deviation in the color of the thread or whatever, it is rejected. Now that's nonsense, and you are then putting a bundle to the fact that sooner or later a machine will replace you, because that process and the thing that takes you so much time and energy to make it look the same is something that machine can do. But what the machine can't do is to make an individual unique piece. And that's what we should be encouraging.
I think we have time for just one more question, another very specific question from a student. I think Aishwarya Sharma says, how can craftspeople benefit from branding and advertising? I mean, I think it's a very
well, I mean, they would benefit in the same way. I mean, why are there brands? Why are there advertising? Because everyone realizes that's the way to market successfully. And we need to make craftspeople their own brands. Unfortunately, there is a culture, even among some very talented and sensitive designers, to actually not name who the craftspeople are who make the pieces that they sell, and to sort of take possession of them. And so that is a whole area where I think we have to recognize craftspeople and their contributions. And we should see that craftspeople are named, and that the skills that they have are recognized as equal brands to anything in the world. And we should be very proudly promoting all these things. At the moment, even people work with textiles sometimes can't go beyond, say, Kanjivaram, Banaras, Maheshwari, name 4 or 5 textile traditions in a country which has at least 100 or more. So yes, we need to be advertising it. And again, the proposal is that though we ourselves, the design community, may not have been very good at doing that or very generous, craft again, thanks to it's very important to package well, to present well, to have your name, have your signature and your logo on your what you sell. And you will now, I think that is a trend we're really developing.
I think we can close the question and answer session here. Very, very, very interesting, and I would say so many takeaways from things that I ran out of paper to write. One thing that comes to, I mean, as faculty group in our minds, which we've also discussed several times in the classroom, is, in your experience, what kind of academic modules have worked? We've been discussing, how will students contribute, or how can we really probably help them with entrepreneurship skills or branding, or so. In the past, what kind of academic interaction modules, in your opinion, have really been successful, so that we can all sort of learn from that?
Well, as I said, I think the one that we did with the Design Academy Eindhoven was very successful because it had a long time frame, and in fact, then again, some of those students came back for another year. I think that one of the that you need to take away the pressure of that the student has of developing a range of samples for their final submission, which is usually what happens if they're sort of doing a diploma project. They have to prepare something for that jury. So what happens then is there's a lot of pressure on the sample making rather than the understanding of the craft and sort of the interaction with the craftsperson. They also usually, because everything is in such a rush at the end, that things like pricing and costing are
practical. Unable to hear.
We lost connection.
Hello? Am I audible? Okay. I am unable to hear anything. Sajji, are you here? Hello?
Maybe we just phone her once.
I shall go.
Strategies back. Good. Where will we take on from?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes. Tapasya, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, yes, ma'am, we can hear you now. Yeah. Sorry.
Now what do you want to do?
So the last question we just talked after you told us about the project about having a long time frame and developing you were talking about the sample being the main. So if you would like to just close that, then we can move forward.
So what I'm saying is that for people who want to work in the craft sector, student life, this needs to be built into the curriculum at different stages, not just a small capsule of very intense visit to the field. It has to integrate all the other aspects of their learning and make those relevant to working with craft. So it should be something quite special. I've actually written about this, and if you're interested, I can share that document with you at some time.
That would be great. Yes. That would be really lovely. Thank you so much for addressing our students and actually taking our questions. I would now hand it back to Dean to come in to close the event here.
Thank you, Laila-ji. It was, I think, I sensed, although I couldn't see, as you said, invisible audience is difficult, but I certainly sensed many eyes lighting up, I think, at some of the things you put forth to us. It was certainly inspiring. And I would take forward what you were saying about integrating design into several parts of our curriculum and making it that slow process. I can see the students thinking about this, I wouldn't say a new way, but this way of maybe working with crafts and craftspeople. Surely we will. And as you say, this time it is an opportunity to rethink our world. It is a time to rethink how to be maybe less consumptive or a more inclusive economy and share resources. Of course, we have to do all this. And I would just end by saying, as a design school, yes, we are aligning with the goals of traditional crafts, the craftspersons and materials and processes. I think. Thank you very much. Can we do a round of applause at this point, please? Thank you. Really. Thank you so much. Really inspiring and inspirational. Do we go to the next part of the program where we just quickly ask our chief guest to inaugurate the launch of our semester showcase?
Absolutely. Happy to do that. I'm afraid I'll then have to leave you, so yes. I won't be there for the awards, etc. But I'm very happy to.
So I had one slide to put up, I think, for Dastakar.
Yes.
I think that's
just the last connection slide, and then we can open. And I forgot to mention, thank you again. I'm sorry we spoiled your Sunday, but I think it is entirely worth it for us.
But I would suggest that you sort of switch back to Zoom and abandon this WebEx, which I think is a pretty poor program.
We will take that up. How do we do this, Tapasya? Will you walk Mrs. Said?
So, ma'am, if you could just declare the exhibition open, I will show a short preview to everybody of what's waiting for them at the other side of the link.
So I'm delighted to declare this exhibition open and to see students' work. It must be very frustrating to not have people able to access it live and to actually see the results of your hard work. I wish you well, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you've done. So with great pleasure, I declare the exhibition open.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for inaugurating the event. And I think we can close the first part. Dean, could you please?
Thanks, Society. Thanks, Society, for being with us. and take a close long break. I said already.
Yes, we look forward to actually collaborating on many fronts with you, ma'am, soon. Students are really eager to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elijah. Thank you so much for being with us.
I will now request all participants to grab a glass of water. Let's take a 2-minute break before we move to the next part, which is
2 minutes or 10
sorry, we will resume. So the time is 12:13. Let's resume at 12:15 and start the award ceremony for all our students. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So 12:15 back.
Yes. Are we back? Are we all back? Request Anjali ma'am to come online.
Yes.
Hello, good morning. So after the excitement of seeing everybody's work together, so organized and so wonderfully laid out and everything, after all that hard work seen in a small capsule, we are now moving to the award ceremony, which is now going to be presented by Anjali Marwa. She is the coordinator for the same, and I will leave all the sticky questions for her about who got it, how did they get it. So Anjali, over to you.
Thank you. So we move to the next part, which is actually where we get acknowledged for all the effort the students have put in for the last year. So these are the Academic Excellence Awards. Before I start announcing the awards, I will actually clear the criteria of selection. So the students who have scored the highest academic aggregate, that is, they have topped in terms of their CGPA, for odd semesters are actually the students who are getting these awards. So every department, students who have topped their third, fifth, and seventh semesters respectively will be given the awards, and 2 awards will be given from Foundation, Batch A and Batch B. So that is the criteria that we have used for selection. Also, need not worry for even semester, the semester that has just concluded. Awards will be given for that also, but not today. We will hold a other ceremony before we start the next semester to give away even semester awards. So now moving on to the Academic Excellence Awards. I like to announce the first recipient. Is Mansi Gupta, Foundation Batch A, Semester 1. Mansi, congratulations. Semester 1. Sushi Kumar, Visual Communication, Semester 3. Diya Gambhir, Visual Communication, Semester 5. Arshi Gill, Visual Communication, Semester 7. Alan Khurana, Product Design, Semester 3. Sagar Pandita, Product Design, Semester 5. Congratulations. Mandira Singh, Product Design, Semester 7. Divya Khanna, Semester 3. Congratulations. Next is Palak Maheshwari, Fashion and Textile, Semester 5. Shreya Rajotia, Fashion and Textile, Semester 7. Rukmani Mohan, Fashion and Communication, Semester 5. Okay, coming to Interior Design. Srishti Gupta, Interior Design, Semester 3. Shweta Ambawat, Interior Design, Semester 5. Riya Nagpal, Interior Design, Semester 7. There was a tie for this position, so we have another person, Prableen Kaur Anand, also for Interior Design, Semester 7. Dipanshi Khare from Interior Architecture, Semester 3. Congratulations. Kumar Talwar, Interior Architecture, Semester 5. Sanjana Chaudhary, Interior Architecture, Semester 7. Congratulations. Coming to Masters, Vanika Agarwal, MDes, Semester 1. Congratulations. Purva Gupta, MDes Interior Design, Semester. That brings us to the end of our awards. Thank you so much and lovely work from all the students.
Thank you, Anjali ma'am. I think it sounds a little hollow when we say, yes, so much work has gone into this. You have worked so hard, but yes, that's all we can say from a distance. Unfortunately, this is a different kind of a ceremony, but we are still very proud of everybody's work, of everybody's effort, and the massive change that we have seen in people who have grown in these virtual classrooms, in putting their work together, in putting a great face out there and a brave one as well. And I think these awards were very well deserved and very well sort of earned, I would say, by students. So I think that brings us to the close of the event. Would anybody else like to say anything or congratulate the students? I am doing it on behalf of the team, but yes, if anybody else would like to also join me in congratulating them, and then we can open the page where you can all access the exhibition. Dean, any other faculty member, would you like to say a few words to close it?
I think we did start with thanking all the students, especially. I think you put in immense, incredible amount of work given all the odds. Really, I'm so proud. When we started, we didn't know where we would end and whether we would be able to get everything online and be able to celebrate this way. But it's just proved to me that, we are at a level which I don't think we can only, we've set a new benchmark for ourselves, definitely. We're definitely international level. We've set a benchmark for ourselves. Let us only go further. I'm so proud of the entire faculty team and all of you. I know I've seen all these messages going up and down the last few days about Abhikalp and the videos, and it's come at all times of the day and night. So I know you guys have really put in more than your best, and for that I can only applaud all of you. Honestly, really, just the best. Really great team of students and faculty. Let's just move forward from here. Any other one? Anything else that?
Well, we are going to showcase the larger video. I would request everyone to move to the web page and look at the individual links. All the credits are in there, but we do have a longish tailor-made video as a walkthrough, and I'm going to now play that, and I will leave you with that to think about and to also rejoice and enjoy and celebrate all the work that our students have put up. This showcase will keep adding and it will keep growing as we keep improving the kind of feedback we get. We will keep improving and adding things. But for now, these rooms are open and they are waiting for visitors. So I'm now going to quickly start the video, which is the longer trailer for the entire event. Okay, and we are back. Yes, so we are kind of feeling the pulse, feeling very excited to see so much, and also the surprise nugget in there of 2021. We're already thinking of 2021 now because, guys, what a way to end this event. Very excited, very happy. Wanted to give the credit to all the students, all the numerous students. We've got all the credits in the rooms themselves, but I would especially thank Akshay from PD for doing the teaser video collation. He put it all together, put the music, everything, edited it, and for Aman from ISM4 for doing the longer video that we just saw and placing that surprise 2021 nugget in there. Thank you so much. I think we're all very excited, and let's keep the excitement and forget that it is Sunday and keep waiting for the evening. We're going to meet again at 4 o'clock, and we will meet with our graduating batch and continue this party. And it's from 4, and the after party will start after 5:30 for that. So guys, please keep the energy. Please come back and join us and log in about 15 minutes early or 10 minutes early to start the 4 o'clock event. Dean, would you like to say something afterwards?
I'll beat them all at 4 o'clock. I think it's an amazing lunch. I think I've thanked everyone 3 times, but I can't stop thanking everybody. I believe in you guys. I knew this would happen. I'm just amazed at how much and how well it's been done. Brilliant job, everybody, faculty and students. I believe in you guys.
Thank you, the entire Abhikalp team. Thank you, students who have submitted their work. Thank you all my colleagues who have put in effort for all the time when we were shifting between exam Abhikalp. Now we are finally happy that Abhikalp is online and live. Thank you all the audience, lovely audience who joined us from taking time off from their Sunday siestas and the breaks and everything, and being here with us throughout the event. It's so lovely to see everybody has hung on to the event. Thank you, and join us again definitely at 4 to 4 or 10 minutes to 4, and we'll start the next event sharply at 4 o'clock. We are going to welcome Itu Chaudhary to speak with us and address us. But yeah, please, lots of exciting things waiting on the other side of the day. See you all. Thank you.